The morning was gray in Maplewood, a vibrant city yet full of contrasts. The sidewalks were still wet from the previous night's rain. Sofia, a 24-year-old young woman, hurried along the roadside, holding a bag with bread and coffee and her work gloves, old, worn, but essential. Her uniform was clean, though it already showed signs of wear, and her sneakers, nearly falling apart, seemed to beg for rest. She couldn't be late for her cleaning shift at the luxurious Orion Grand Hotel, one of the most prestigious in the city. Every second of delay cost her, and she knew it. As she approached the main avenue, she heard the shrill sound of an engine revving. A gleaming white sports car was speeding toward her. Sofia tried to step aside, but there was no time. The car drove over a huge puddle, and in an instant, a jet of muddy water splashed her from head to toe. Face, clothes, bag, everything soaked and filthy. The car, of course, didn't stop. The tinted window rolled down slowly, revealing a woman impeccably made up, wearing dark red lipstick and oversized designer sunglasses. It was Bianca Leclerc, one of the city's most famous influencers, daughter of a powerful real estate investor. "Watch where you're walking, darling," she snapped with a mocking smile before speeding off around the corner. Sofia stood there, frozen. Her lips trembled, her eyes burned, but she didn't cry. She clutched the muddy bag against her chest and kept walking. She wouldn't give up. She had a younger sister at home, Mia, who depended on her. They shared a tiny studio in the back streets of Maplewood. Giving up was not an option. Across the street, inside a black sedan, a man named Gabriel Costa was watching everything. Young, discreet, with a sharp gaze. He saw it all. The splash, the laughter, the humiliation written across Sofia's face. His eyes narrowed. He knew Bianca very well. Famous not only for her fashion events, but also for her arrogance. What she didn't know was that, on that day, someone who had the power to change destinies was watching. Gabriel picked up his phone, his eyes fixed on Sofia as she walked away. "Find out who that girl is," he said, calm but firm. "I want to know everything." Sofia arrived at the Orion Grand Hotel, looking as if an entire storm had poured over her. Her once clean uniform now displayed dark mud stains. Her hair, which she always tried to keep tied and neat, was plastered to her face. With each step, her sneakers made that uncomfortable squishing sound of soaked fabric. She entered through the side door, as she did every day, trying to go unnoticed. But as soon as she crossed the staff corridor, the disapproving gaze of her supervisor, Mr. Matthews, found her. "You're late, Sofia," he said impatiently, flipping through a clipboard. "And what is this? Look at yourself. Such negligence." She took a deep breath, keeping her eyes down. "I was splashed by a car on the street. I tried to clean." "No excuses," he snapped sharply. "The lobby needs to be spotless before the guests arrive. Get to work." Sofia pressed her lips together, holding back the words she wanted to say, and walked toward the supply closet. Some co-workers glanced at her, whispering. Some shook their heads, maybe out of pity, maybe judgment, but no one helped. No one asked if she was okay. She put on a spare uniform, old, a bit too loose but dry, tied her hair back again, and took a deep breath. She had a job to do. She couldn't let this break her. She thought of Mia, her little sister, still asleep in the tiny studio they shared. She thought of the rent coming due. She thought of the groceries, the electricity bill. As she scrubbed the lobby floor, every movement felt heavier than the last, not just from her tired body, but from the invisible weight she carried every single day. What she didn't know was that from the glass building directly across from the hotel, on the 15th floor, someone was watching her closely. Gabriel was seated in his office, looking out through the large window, from where he had a direct view of the hotel. He wasn't just any businessman. At 34, Gabriel was the CEO of Costa Group, one of the most powerful holding companies in the city, owning stakes in hotels, malls, and developments all over Maplewood. A silent billionaire, averse to the spotlight, who preferred to observe the world before acting on it. His assistant walked in, bringing the report he had requested hours earlier. "Here it is, sir," Her name is Sofia Ribeiro, 24 years old, works 2 cleaning jobs, lives in the Southview neighborhood, has been taking care of her younger sister since their mother passed away 3 years ago. Gabriel stared intently at the photo attached to the report. It was a simple photo. In it, Sofia was smiling, holding a little girl of about 9, Mia. The smile on both their faces was shy, but filled with a tenderness that seemed to shine right through the paper. Gabriel ran his fingers over the photo, deep in thought. "She didn't deserve that," he murmured, almost without realizing he had spoken aloud. His assistant Laura, still standing in the room, raised an eyebrow, curious. "Do you want me to do something?" she asked carefully, well used to her boss's often unpredictable decisions. Gabriel glanced back out the window, watching Sofia down below in the hotel lobby, on her knees, scrubbing the floor with dedication, even after everything. "Yes," he replied calmly, "but not yet. Let's wait a bit longer. I want to observe more." Meanwhile, in a luxury condo in Maplewood's upscale district, Bianca Leclerc adjusted her gold necklace in front of the mirror. On her phone screen, dozens of messages: fans, sponsors, stylists. She loved the game. Life was made up of those who rise and those who serve. "That girl was walking way too close to the street," she commented, sipping her green smoothie. "She should be grateful I didn't run over her feet." Her personal assistant, Clara, laughed nervously. "Yeah, for sure." Bianca didn't pay attention. To her, the world was divided between winners and background characters. And of course, she saw herself in the first group. But on the other side of the city, reality looked very different. In the small staff break room, Sofia opened her lunch, a piece of bread and a bottle of water. She sat on a cardboard box in the back of the hotel's outdoor area, far from everyone, just as she did every day. Her fingers trembled as she unwrapped the bread. Even exhausted, her gaze remained steady. She glanced at her phone from time to time, checking if Mia had sent any messages. That's when a man walked by, calmly passing through the hotel's back entrance. He wore jeans, simple sneakers, and a cap. He held his phone, pretending to read something, but his eyes were actually fixed on her. It was Gabriel. He was watching her closely for the first time. He noticed how she ate slowly, how she held the phone with care, and how, even amid exhaustion, she still maintained a certain tenderness toward the small details of life. Gabriel felt a tightness in his chest. He didn't quite know why, but something about this young woman reminded him of someone he had loved dearly in the past. He stood there, pretending to look at his phone, but in truth, his eyes never left Sofia. There was something about her that stirred an old, almost forgotten memory of his own mother. A simple, strong woman who had worked as a cleaner her entire life to ensure he could study, grow, and build everything he had today. Sofia had no idea, but at that very moment, a silent decision was being made. As he walked away, a thought crossed his mind. She doesn't know it yet, but her life is about to change. The next morning, as always, Sofia woke up before dawn. She prepared breakfast, packed Mia's lunch, and tied her sister's shoelaces. She kissed her forehead gently. "Behave at school, okay?" Mia smiled, cheerful. "You too, Sophie." Sofia caught the bus, wearing her spare uniform. The good one was still soaking, stained with mud from the day before. As she got off at the Orion Grand Hotel stop, she noticed something strange. Inside her locker was a small brown paper bag. Her heart raced. She opened it, suspicious. Inside, she found a pair of brand new gloves, a warm sandwich, still hot, wrapped in aluminum foil, and a folded note. "For those who carry on with dignity, even when the world is cruel." Sofia looked around, trying to figure out who could have left it. But no one seemed to be paying attention. She slowly unwrapped the sandwich. The smell made her stomach twist with hunger. She couldn't remember the last time she'd had a hot breakfast. Her eyes welled up. She didn't know who had done this, but for the first time in a long while she smiled quietly to herself. Far away, in his glass-walled office, Gabriel was watching everything discreetly through the hotel's internal cameras, access granted to him thanks to his partnership with Orion Grand's security network. He saw her surprised expression, saw her eyes light up, and with a small smile, murmured to himself. Small steps. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Bianca was on a talk show, smiling at the cameras, flaunting her latest designer handbag worth thousands of dollars. The host praised her, calling her an example of elegance and success. But when the lights of the show went off, the mask dropped. "My coffee was cold. Fire that new girl," she snapped, without even looking anyone in the eye. In Bianca's mind, it was simple. The world belonged to the strong. What she didn't know was that the game was about to change. That very night, Gabriel made another call. His voice was calm, but carried a tone of firm decision. "I want her promoted," he said directly to the regional manager of the Orion chain. "Handle it discreetly." On the other end of the line, the manager, Mr. Donovan, hesitated. "Sir, she's just a cleaner." Gabriel didn't need to think twice. His voice grew firmer, leaving no room for discussion. "She is not just anything. Make it happen." The next day, Sofia was cleaning the entrance windows when she heard her name being called. She turned and saw the supervisor, Mr. Matthews, holding a clipboard. "Sofia Ribeiro," he said, straight to the point. She took a deep breath. Her heart raced. "Yes, sir?" He quickly glanced at the papers and, without much enthusiasm, announced, "Starting tomorrow, you're being transferred to the executive floor maintenance. That's the VIP sector. Higher pay, less heavy labor." Sofia stood frozen for a few seconds, processing what she had just heard. "Sir, are you sure? I never applied for that position." "It's approved. Orders from upper management." "Congratulations," he replied curtly, turning his back and walking away. As soon as she walked off, the whispers began. "VIP floor? For her?" One employee muttered, barely trying to hide it. "This is strange. Must be getting involved with someone upstairs," another blurted, crossing her arms. Sofia heard it all. Every word, every sideways glance, every fake smile. But she remained silent. After all, she had learned early on that the silence of someone who works with dignity speaks louder than any judgment. That night, when she got home, she shared the news with Mia. Her little sister jumped into her arms, squeezing her tightly. "I told you, Sophie. Good things happen to good people." Meanwhile, at the Orion Holdings building, Gabriel was watching everything. His eyes followed every detail, every expression of hers through the internal cameras. He visited the hotel more and more often, but always discreetly. Wearing a cap, simple clothes, and keeping his distance. He was captivated, not just by Sofia's beauty, but by her quiet strength, by the way she treated everyone, even those who ignored her, as if they all deserved respect. What Gabriel didn't realize yet was that the feeling starting to grow inside him wasn't just admiration. It was something bigger, something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in a very long time. In the following days, the atmosphere at the hotel shifted. Sofia started her new position on the executive floor, the most sophisticated sector of the Orion Grand. The carpet was so soft it muffled every sound. The air was fragrant, the walls decorated with expensive artwork, and the guests were mostly millionaires, business moguls, or celebrities passing through Maplewood. Even surrounded by luxury, Sofia remained the same. Polite, discreet, and dedicated. Her work was flawless. Every room, every hallway seemed to shine a little brighter after she passed through. One day, while tidying up the Sky Garden lounge, she heard a familiar voice. "Excuse me," a man said kindly. "Could you tell me where the Sky Lounge is?" She turned, and for a second, her heart nearly stopped. It was Gabriel, dressed casually in jeans, a black t-shirt, and a cap that partially hid his face. Sofia smiled, a bit wary but polite. "Of course, sir, I can walk you there." They started walking side by side. Gabriel broke the silence. "How long have you been working here?" "It's going to be 2 years. It's not easy, but it pays the bills," she replied, smiling softly. He nodded, looking at her with genuine interest. "And, do you like what you do?" She hesitated. "I don't know if anyone dreams of cleaning hallways, but I'm grateful. I try to do my best." Gabriel stopped, gazing at her gently. "You do much more than that. You shine." Sofia blushed, letting out a small laugh. Thank you, I guess. He smiled but didn't reveal who he really was. He simply watched her walk away, still with that shy smile. A smile that somehow seemed to brighten everything around her. Meanwhile, in her penthouse apartment, Bianca was biting her nails, staring furiously at her phone. Social media had shifted over the past few days. Some anonymous messages were starting to circulate, mentioning her name in a not-so-flattering way. That afternoon, when she arrived at her office, she found a brown envelope sitting on her desk. She opened it, and inside was a photo. A bit blurry, but unmistakably clear. It showed her car splashing mud on Sofia. Along with it, a yellow post-it note. Not everyone forgets. Bianca's blood ran cold. What kind of joke is this? She snapped, tearing the note to pieces. But for the first time, she felt something she wasn't used to feeling. It wasn't anger, it wasn't contempt. It was fear. Because for the first time, she didn't feel untouchable. At the very moment Bianca was tearing up the note back at the hotel, Sofia found another unexpected message inside her locker. This time it was a small white envelope, plain, with no sender. She opened it, and inside was a handwritten note. Keep shining. The world sees you, even when they pretend not to. Sofia held the paper for a few seconds, not knowing whether to smile or cry. Who was behind this? She had no idea. But unlike other days, that feeling of being invisible seemed to be fading. She closed her eyes for a moment, pressed the note against her chest, and took a deep breath. Something was happening. Something she wasn't sure was luck, fate, or maybe an invisible hand that, for the first time in her life, was on her side. However, the higher Sofia climbed, the more stairs started to appear. Some were filled with admiration, others loaded with envy. Her, on the VIP floor, whispered a front desk employee. Something's really weird about this. But no one seemed more bothered than Patricia, a cleaning team veteran who had been at the hotel for 6 years. Unbelievable, she muttered, crossing her arms and staring at Sofia from a distance. She just got here, and she's already on the VIP floor. Must be playing some game, right? Something's up. Sofia noticed the stares, the sudden silences that filled the room whenever she entered the staff area. But as always, she held her head high and continued doing what she knew best, working with excellence. Meanwhile, Gabriel returned to the hotel more often, but this time he didn't bother to hide as much. He observed, followed, made casual conversation. Whenever possible, he requested to stay in the wing under Sofia's responsibility, a subtle excuse, but one no one questioned. His gaze toward her went far beyond professional admiration. Gabriel, so used to a world where everyone wanted something from him, started to realize that in Sofia's presence, he didn't need to prove anything. She had no idea who he was, and yet treated him with a kindness and respect he rarely encountered anywhere else. However, not everyone was happy about this. Bianca, quietly watching through social media and the growing movement around the hotel, began to notice something that made her deeply uncomfortable. Gabriel, the man she had tried to attract for years without success, now seemed interested in someone who, in her mind, was nothing more than a cleaner. The discomfort quickly morphed into something darker, rage, and with it, a plan began to form. That night, Bianca sat in the armchair of her penthouse, scrolling frantically through her social media feed, her frustration growing with every swipe. Her nails tapped furiously against the phone screen. Seeing Gabriel, the man she had tried to impress for years, showing interest in a cleaner was more than she could bear. This won't stay like this, she muttered to herself, her eyes burning with fury. Without thinking twice, she grabbed her phone and made a call. I want you to publish a story, she said directly to the tabloid blogger she knew well. Something hot, something everyone's going to talk about. Sure. About what? Asked the voice on the other end, sounding half amused. Write that this Sofia planned everything, that she's seducing Gabriel to climb the social ladder, that it was never a coincidence. She's a gold digger, a scammer. And, do you have any proof? The man questioned. Proof? She laughed sarcastically. People don't need proof. Just a good story. Hours later, the news was live. The headline in huge bold letters read, "From cleaner to first lady, meet the girl who snagged billionaire Gabriel Costa. Out of interest?" The story spread like wildfire. In the hotel hallways, the looks shifted once again. The whispers returned. Some employees who used to smile at her now looked away. Sofia saw the headline during her break. Her stomach dropped. Her hands trembled. Her chest tightened so much that she could barely breathe. "No, no," she whispered, feeling her eyes fill with tears. She quickly packed her things, lowered her head, and left the hotel before her shift was even over. She didn't want to, couldn't, face anyone. But unlike before, Gabriel didn't stay silent. The moment he found out, he called for a press conference right there at the Orion Grand. Standing before reporters, lights, and cameras, he positioned himself, looking directly at the journalists. His voice was steady, clear, leaving no room for doubt. Sofia Ribeiro is not a gold digger. She is the most honest, hardworking, and admirable woman I've ever met. And anyone who believes otherwise should ask themselves what they truly value, money or character. The room, packed with journalists, fell silent for a second, until, slowly, applause began to ripple through the crowd. At that moment, Sofia, watching everything from the couch in her tiny apartment, brought her hand to her mouth. The tears streamed down her face. But this time, they weren't tears of pain. Lying on the small sofa in her living room, Sofia clutched her phone to her chest as the warm, silent tears fell. But for the first time, they weren't tears of pain or humiliation. They were tears of relief, of surprise, and of something new, of finally feeling seen. Minutes after the press conference, there was a knock at the door. Sofia, still wiping her face, stood up, hesitant. As she opened it, she found a delivery man holding a small box and a single red rose. "Delivery for Sofia Ribeiro." She signed, thanked him, and as soon as she closed the door, she rushed to open the package. Inside was a handwritten card, written in firm, elegant letters. "Let the world whisper. I will always speak your truth. Gabriel." She brought her hand to her mouth again, trying to hold back the tears. This felt unreal. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just being seen, she was being chosen. What once felt like a distant dream, a scholarship, a promotion, public support, was now part of her reality. A reality she had never even dared to imagine. Meanwhile, in the online world, Sofia's story was exploding. The fake article was quickly debunked. In its place, blogs, websites, and social media profiles started sharing her real story. From victim of humiliation to the inspiration of an entire city. When life throws mud, some bloom. The cleaner who proved that dignity is worth more than status. Thousands of comments flooded the internet. Now this is a real-life Cinderella story. What an incredible woman. Strength, courage, and humility. She deserves the whole world. At the hotel, even those who once looked at her with disdain now lowered their heads when she walked by. The manager, Mr. Donovan, made a point of greeting her every time, now with genuine respect. Some co-workers who used to whisper now smiled awkwardly, clearly trying to make amends. At the university, her professors began citing her as an example of discipline and resilience. It didn't take long before the university's director personally came to congratulate her. But while Sofia's life was blooming, Bianca's world was falling apart. The source of the fake news was traced back to her. Her father, furious, didn't hesitate. "You didn't just disgrace that young woman. You disgraced our family, our name," he said, with a tone colder than Bianca had ever heard from him. He froze her credit cards, revoked her company access, and suspended her from the board. "When you learn what respect means, maybe then we can talk," he concluded, turning his back on her. Bianca stood there, frozen. For the first time in her life, there was no one left to clean up her mess. A week later, the Orion Grand Hotel's ballroom sparkled like never before. Crystal chandeliers, fresh flowers, and a soft orchestra set the tone for the night. It was the hotel's 20th anniversary gala, bringing together the elite of Maplewood. Sofia arrived wearing a light blue dress, simple, elegant, with no designer labels, no expensive jewelry. And yet, when she walked through the doors, it felt as though every light turned toward her. She didn't need luxury brands. Her presence, her posture, her smile were worth more than any diamond. People stared, some in silent admiration, others clapped quietly. That night Sofia wasn't a cleaner, she was the guest of honor. Gabriel stood by her side, smiling with a pride he didn't bother to hide. He hadn't proposed yet, but anyone looking into his eyes could see it clearly. He was hers, completely. The hotel director stepped onto the stage and, with a steady voice, announced, "Tonight we honor a woman whose strength, humility, and courage not only transformed her own life, but inspired all of us." He then handed her a recognition plaque. Sofia took a deep breath and walked to the microphone. "A year ago, I was just a girl walking to work, with torn shoes and mud on my clothes." Her voice was steady, yet full of emotion. "I was invisible, until an act of cruelty, and an act of kindness, changed my life." The ballroom fell completely silent. "I'm not here because I was lucky. I'm here because I kept going, because someone believed in me, even before I believed in myself." She looked directly at Gabriel, her smile filled with emotion. "And because kindness speaks louder than status." Tears quietly streamed from many eyes in that room. Even the staff watching from the back stood up, proud. Later, when the event was over, Sofia asked Gabriel to walk with her somewhere. They arrived at the sidewalk in front of the hotel, the very place where it had all begun, where Bianca's car had splashed mud all over her. Now, the street was repaved, clean, smooth, perfect. Sofia slipped off her shoes, stood barefoot, and slowly walked across the asphalt, smiling. Gabriel watched her, smiling too. "What are you doing?" he asked, curious. She looked down, then smiled at him. "Leaving here, the last piece of who I used to be," she replied, "and walking fully into who I am now." Without saying a word, Gabriel took off his shoes as well, and hand in hand, they walked together. Because sometimes, when life throws mud, a flower grows. And sometimes it blooms so brightly, the whole world stops to notice.